Hi, all of my fans and followers of Erasing Family. We are finally back doing live Facebook videos after almost 3 months of not doing them because we've been very busy finishing the film, and finally we have some great news to share. So before we get started, next week, literally 1 week from today, it's Valentine's Day. And I just wanted to give an early Valentine's Day to all of our supporters. I know that you are going through so much, and the fact that you are transforming your pain and suffering into a tool that can help other families, a tool that can help other young people not be erased from their parents, is awe-inspiring. So just take a moment. If you're by yourself, give yourself a little hug. If you're with someone, pat them on the back, play it forward. But thank you so much for everything that you have done to support the film, to support our vision as filmmakers, but also the transformation that I'm seeing in your own lives is amazing. So many people who I talk with have said that, in the past few months, they've had breakthroughs and reunited with their kids. And I don't think it's because I give a magical solution. I don't. All I can do is pass on advice, but the transformation that I do see is that by people becoming proactive in their lives, by focusing on the positive, by becoming advocates for the film, by changing the way they talk. So by, instead of talking about how horrible things are talking about hope instead of insisting that this is a problem, or getting into technical details about laws or parental alienation and syndromes. Just asking the question, if a child has a loving, fit parent, is it better for that child to have that loving, fit parent in their life, or for that parent to be erased? And everybody in the world is in agreement. Children should have a relationship with their loving and fit parents and their entire extended family, even if parents aren't perfect, because guess what? No parent is perfect, right? And if we just talk about it like this, everybody agrees with us. And all this debate and tension we feel just melts away. And when this having to prove that you're right, that you have the right theory, instead you accept that everybody always agrees with you, not only does this help reunite other families, but also you'll begin to see this transformation within your own family structure, because your kids will see, even if they don't see you, you don't have contact, this energy change by making it about hope and helping others, they'll feel it eventually. And I'm just always surprised how people say, oh, for the first time I was able to have dinner with my daughter, for the first time I was able to text with my son. And again, it's not because we have a magic solution. We don't. There's a lot of worker professionals going out there, and sometimes it's just us telling people to connect with the resources that are out there, to read the books that are out there, to go to the support groups that already exist, to take that extra step of Googling, is there a meetup or support group in your area? And sometimes I'm surprised. People say, I wish there's a support group in my area. I say, there is one. I know one in your town because I just got off the phone with the person who runs it, and they've been running for 3 years, but they never took the time to research what's out there. Even if you go to the family courts, sometimes there are free resources there that are hidden. Sometimes the women's center also gives help for men, and the men's center also gives help for women. Just go in there and ask and insist. And as long as it's about preserving love, you will find the resources and the help, especially when you know that this is a journey that for some people it might take months to reunite, it might take years, and unfortunately some it might take a lifetime. But the message I wanted to give you, and what I had a profound realization about while making the Erasing Family documentary, if you want to know more, go to erasingfamily.org, is that if you do the work of becoming an advocate, of helping others, and we've done videos about this in your past life, about looking at things positively, not trying to be right, but just expressing love and gratitude, your children may come back to you. But if you don't do those steps, it's incredibly difficult. And one thing that a lot of parents, erased parents, ask me is, well, could you just call up my kid and convince them? And even if I could sit down with your kid for an hour, I probably couldn't. Or maybe I could. But once I get them to talk to you, that work is on you, and it's about how you show up, because all we can control is our actions, and this is so easier said than done, especially when you're up against a horrible court system, horrible people, family dynamics, that this might be going back generations. But I want to award all the people who've been doing the work. Um, just a very quick hi to Rick Tobin. So Rick Tobin is one of our volunteer moderators. So sometimes when you post on the Erasing Family page and you get a comment or like, it's Rick who's behind that. We also have another moderator. I'm not sure if she wants to be named publicly. Kathy Wood is here. Greg Francis is here. Mike Gates. Carolina Rena DeBolt is here. Adele Zeza joined. Tina Baroni joined. Johnny Panko joined. All these great people a lot of people who I know. So now I said, I don't have this magic solution. Even if I could talk to your kids, I'm not sure what that, if I could reunite. So what do I know will work? In movies, when you look at a traditional narrative movie, a fiction film, there's something called the inciting incident. And the inciting incident is something that happens outside the character's control that encourages them to go on a journey to rediscover themselves. So the most famous example in the first Star Wars movie, Luke, he's farming, and then one day Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up and it tells him he has to go on an adventure. Luke did not control Obi-Wan Kenobi showing up, but then he himself chooses to follow. So what we need for all the erased children out there is an inciting incident, something that gives them an aha moment. And there are many ways that can come from a news article, from a song, from talking to somebody. But what I'm working on is one possible inciting incident for your children, all of the children out there, which is the Erasing Family documentary. And I'm very excited to announce that we're almost finished. Hopefully by the end of February, early March, the film will be completely done. We'll have the music put in, we'll have the color correction put in, all that technical stuff. Everyone who donated will get their name in the credits with the proper dedication, which that in of itself has taken us about 1 month to check all the dedications and make sure that they're written properly. And we are still working on the best way to have a premiere. We have some exciting surprises in the works, but we're still waiting to hear back from film festivals, and we're also considering doing a theatrical premiere where we'll have a big event in Los Angeles, New York, DC, or Toronto, maybe all of those cities, Dallas, Chicago, San Francisco, and it depends because it is an expensive thing to do. But we don't have that date yet. But there are things that you can do if you want to see the film right now. If you want to arrange a screening in your community. So until we have a premiere, we can't do public screenings, because once you do a public screening where anybody can come either by buying a ticket or by or if it's a free event, or if it's an event that's sponsored, they show up for free. We can't do that until we have a premiere. And festivals, if once you premiere it, they won't show it in a film festival. So we need to be careful about this. But what we can do is we can have private screenings before a festival premiere, which is invite only, so there's no advertising going on. And this would be done for an organization. For example, what I'm thinking is, let's say, Association of Matrimonial Lawyers, an Association of Family Court Judges, Association of Social Workers. And also we would ask these groups to pay an elevated screening fee, higher than normal, so that way we can take that money and put it back into our impact campaign and do screenings in high schools, which, no high school is going to pay to screen a film. I know that space very well. Shelters, people who really need the film, and also creating a press campaign out there. And the most important thing, also creating resources for the kids, because, and this shocked me a lot. One woman who joined our ambassador program took the film to, the idea of screening the film at a school, and they said, we know a lot of our students are affected by this, but we don't want to show the film because we don't know how to help them. And if we don't know how to help them and we're telling them they have a problem, we're just making it worse, because now they know that they're in this horrible situation. Which to me is horrible. Let's not talk about something because we don't know how to help people. I'm just like, okay, that's a very strange way of approaching things. But we need to create resources for children and young adults who are erased. This is vital because there are many groups out there that have support groups for parents. There are many really well-written books. There are many professionals that if you're a parent, you can call or get free advice from on some, meetings and stuff. But if you're a teen who can't see a parent, where do you turn? There's nowhere you can turn. That's the real answer, because you can't tell your parent, who's not letting you see the other parent, of course. School counselors are incredibly overworked. You can't sign yourself into therapy because it's too expensive and maybe even illegal for a minor to sign themselves up for therapy. I'm not sure about the law. So we are working on creating materials that kids can access online through their smartphones. And also, you know, we're also thinking about maybe creating a text line where kids can text and get help in real time. All of this takes time, money, and resources. So that's why our plan is to do these very exclusive screenings early on from April to June or July. And then we will have more community screenings everywhere we can for anyone who wants one. So if you're interested in this, and also there's another thing too. So a lot of you have signed up for our ambassador program. If you want to do this, just go to erasingfamily.org, click on the Get Involved page, and you can sign up for the ambassador training, which is a free training where you'll get about 2 hours of video content and people can help you set up screenings in your area. And right now, as a lot of you know, I'll be giving a talk at South by Southwest. And what's very exciting about the South by Southwest conference, which is in Austin, and my talk is on March 10th, is that we will be taking this issue to the leaders of Silicon Valley, the leaders in the media. It's a very big event, and it's also very exclusive. To give you an idea, a pass to the conference costs $1,200. So the people who are there are the real movers or shakers, and we want to bring this issue to them. And what would be really great is if when I go to South by Southwest, I can say, 50 places have signed up to show the film. This does not mean that they've signed a contract with us. It does not mean it's guaranteed. All it means is that they showed interest. They said, yes, we would screen this film. That's it. Not a date. There's no time. There's no money set. Nothing. And if you're interested in helping us get screenings, please sign up to be an ambassador on our website. And also, if you go to erasingfamily.org and click on Get Involved, there's also a tab where you can fill out host a screening. But you only can do that if you actually talk to that group and they said yes, because we'll contact them. So don't put in groups that you think will do it but you haven't talked to. So the more we can get within a month, the better it will be, because once we get people who want to show the film, more people want to show the film. If there's any questions, let me know. Great to hear about the educational components for kids to deal with it. Yeah, the educational component is key because, like I said, there's nothing there. So I went to a specialty publisher who does books only about divorce. And I said, what do you have for teens or young adults? And they said, nothing. And I was like, okay, that's interesting, nothing. So then I go on Amazon and I type in, my parents' divorce, books for teens and divorce, et cetera, et cetera. Also found nothing. So there might be something out there that I haven't discovered. And if there's a book for a teen, not a young child, there's tons of stuff for little kids, but you can't give a book for a 10-year-old to a 15-year-old. Everybody knows this. You can't even give a book for an 8-year-old to a 12-year-old. And there's like nothing out there. There's nothing for like, so you're 25 and you survived your parents' messy divorce. Now what? Nothing. And that's the space that we want to fill, because the goals of the film are threefold. One, to create that aha moment, that insight moment for the kids when they watch the film to reunite with that erased parent. Two, to encourage politicians and people who work in family court to reform family court. And we're not a lobbyist group, so this is where the advocates already out there should take the film and do screenings for politicians. And I just learned a lot of state senates and national senates have movie theaters. And wouldn't it be great if you and your group could invite all of your local state senators and state congresspeople into a room, give them some lunch maybe, or their staff members some sandwiches so they'll come on their lunch hour, hint, screen the film, and then have a speaker, right? Local bar associations, local AFCC chapters. I mean, these are all things that we should be approaching. And right now, please sign up to be ambassador, do the training. It's just a few hours, but then it's about going out there and approaching people. And you can't be an advocate if you are still traumatized and hurting. And this is really important. I've seen this because a lot of the people who sign up for the ambassador program, what we're noticing is that they're still actively processing the trauma, that if one place says, no, we don't want to screen the film, they take this as a huge, horrible defeat, as opposed to saying, well, one place doesn't, there's 20 others that I can contact. Or another thing I've also found, people said, well, 10 people have said no. And then they say, well, actually, 6 of them never got back to me. It's okay, they haven't said no yet. Or some said, well, we're not sure, we haven't considered it. So that's still a conversation that you can have. And it's like sales, and I'm not sure if anyone has worked in sales here. I have. Don't like sales work. It's hard, but you just kind of have to like be, and this is why it's such great practice if you want to reconnect with your kid. You have to have no pain from rejection. And that is super hard to do. And it's like, it's very hard when someone says no, and it's hard when your child says, no, I don't want to see you, even though we know they're being programmed, right? It's super hard and heartbreaking. But if we can build up thick skin and just see the no for like, well, another person will say yes, or in another time, or there's something I can improve about my approach, this is a great practice for your own life. And basically, the community screenings will only be as successful as our fans push for them, or when they happen in your area, if you can bring 10, 20 people there. Things don't happen on their own. So we really need everybody who's a fan to sign up to become an ambassador and then actually get screenings, not just sign up and say they're going to do it. And if you can't do it, if you are someone who that's just too intimidating to go ask for screenings to put yourself out there, one piece of advice I got that's really brilliant. If you don't want to talk about this with people in your hometown, go to the next town over, where people don't know you. But number 2, you're not talking about your story. You're not saying, I'm an erased parent, I want to show this film. You just say, like, I think this would be a great film to show because I know a lot of people in our community are going through this. And a lot of people are always nervous about what they're going to ask about my story. People never ask, and they never really want to know. And if they do ask, you just say, it's touched people in my family. Don't make it about you. Just say, like, and I don't know of any community in anywhere in the world, other except maybe a few, very traditional societies where divorce isn't a huge problem for kids. So Rick just put in the Erasing Faster link. So Kathleen Randable, I said, what about potentially other film festivals that you haven't contacted? So one issue that we're running into is that we have applied to a lot of film festivals and we're waiting to hear back. Some festivals I can apply to for free because we get what's called a waiver, which means we don't have to pay the fee. But others charge anywhere from $65 to $200 to apply. And right now, I personally don't want to spend any more of the money that everyone has donated applying to film festivals. So if there is a film festival that you want us to be at, let us know, and then what we would ask you to do is to contact the film festival and see if you could get us a waiver or find someone to donate that fee. Just because I don't want to spend $10,000 on film festival fees. I think it's a waste of money. So we're very interested, and also if you have a connection, that's super helpful because then you can say, hey, not only will I be there, but I'll bring 100 people to the screening. I'll bring 200 people. I will pack that theater. There'll be a line outside the door because not only it's me, but there's 21,000 people on Facebook, and we will get people into the seats. So Todd Carlson just said there's a free training on parental alienation for raising family ambassadors. That's great. Sherry Anson says you need grit. Any other questions about this? But we basically have a deadline. Like, I'd like to get at least 50 more places to sign up for screenings by March 7th. That might sound like a lot, but if we have 21,000 people following this page, right now we have a few hundred people watching this video. That's one screening a person if we can get 50 people to do this, or 2 screenings if we get 25 people to do this. And like I said, you just go to the page and fill out the form. It's not a contract. It's just saying that they're interested, and they have to honestly have heard about the film, because when we call them up and said, hey, you're interested in screening Erasing Family, we can't hear, I've never heard about what you're talking about. So don't just fill out information there, because that's just, that's deceitful. But it's all about creating an inciting incident. And then the other idea with the film is, of course, that if it screens in, let's say, your community, What you'll be able to do with the film is that leading up to it, contact the local press and have them do a feature story on the erased families in your area, the problems of family court in your area. So the idea is to use the film as a catalyst for change and also bring to the people who really need to see it. And the people who really need to see it are not erased parents. It's great if they see it. I think it'll be super helpful because you see how to go about reuniting and some common pitfalls and mistakes that you can make and hopefully you'll avoid. But you guys know how awful this is, and I don't need to show you a movie to convince you how awful this is. In fact, a lot of you might find it hard to get through. So who needs to see this film? Let's actually, oh, hi Armando. I actually need to contact you about AOC later. So I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. Just because I was saying hi to Armando, who Armando Tellis is in San Diego, and he's been a great supporter of the film. So if people can type in to the comment bar, who are the key audiences for this film? Who really needs to see this film? And we can't say everybody because everybody is the same as nobody. Who needs to see this film? Be as specific as possible. So Leslie Creasy says, who needs to see it? Judges, lawyers. Okay. So Leslie, now I'm going to social workers. So let's start with judges. So Leslie, what area are you in? And do you know of any associations of judges in your area? Sherry Ann Simmons also said judges. Dizzy Lerner said erased children. Awesome. Rick Tobin, the children, family service. So let's start with judges because I got 3 people. There's no right or wrong answer here, and all these are great answers. So for the people who wrote in judges, do you know of a local judge or retired judge who's sympathetic to this cause in your area who might invite other judges to a screening? Let's start with that. Leslie Crease also said AFCC. So question, anyone know of a friendly judge in their area? A therapist. Anybody know of a friendly judge in their area or association of judges in their area who might be interested in screening this? So I'm not getting any answers. That's okay. If you are looking for judges to screen in your area, so if you think judges are a key audience, how would you contact judges? If anyone has any ideas, type them in. Dizzy Lerner, what about the judge that oversaw my daughter and I adoption? Yes. So that would be a judge that you could reach out to and ask if he would be interested in screening the film and inviting other judges and lawyers to see it. So that'd be a great place to start. Armando Towson, Matt Bower, San Diego County. So could you reach out to Matt Bower and see if he could host other judges? Also, what's interesting about judges and lawyers is, as you all know, they tend to have money and could probably actually pay for a screening, and then we could use that money to do screenings for people who can't pay for it, and make these like materials for kids. Because I'm always thinking, how can we use the resources that some people have and use them in a way so then we can then transfer them to the people who don't have those resources, which are kids. I heard Family Nurturing Center. I'm not sure what that is, but that sounds interesting. So Hartwell Thomas, he wrote that there's the Richmond Divorce Ministries. That would be a great place to reach out to. And the more specific that we can get, the better. Because right now, if we say judges should see it, who? Judges. Where? Judges. We need to break that down because we need to find who is the person or if an organization, who should we contact to ask them about this? Now, the way we're going to be doing this too is that if you guys say this is a person who's interested in doing a screening and fill out the form, we will then later follow up and arrange the logistics with them, and then you can just be there as the support person on the day of the screening. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible. But for example, I don't know the name of a friendly judge in, Missouri, but you might. I also want to tell you about So I'm hearing adult children, college students, that's all really great. Well, let's stick with the judges, because I think this is great. How would we go about finding judges in our area who would watch the film? Can we do a database search? Can we talk to them? How would we go about this? Johnny Panko said, kind of outside the box, how about domestic violence professionals and groups? I mean, it is child abuse and domestic abuse by proxy. I think that's a great idea. I also talked to a filmmaker today, and she shared a very interesting experience. She made a film about a Syrian refugee family, and she follows them as they go through 8 countries to end up in Germany, and she follows their journey in real time. And she wanted to show the film to people to get more support for refugees. But what I found really interesting is that some of the best successes she had was that she went to Florida, and she showed the film to anti-immigrant groups. And first of all, not only did she get the film screened, and Neff says she spent like a month in Florida doing these screenings, but also at the end, she would, put out a donation jar and say, if you can, because these groups wouldn't pay anything to screen the film, of course, right? She's like, if you can, put in some, make a donation for the film. And she told me that in some places she would get $2,000 of donations from people who were against what the film was about. So I don't think we should be scared or ashamed to take this to places that we don't think will like the message. They're the ones who need it the most. Because otherwise you get into a preaching to the choir thing, So we really want to reach out to those groups. So Mary White, sorry if I missed this. How do I see it? CD, view on the website. So it's not available yet for public use until we premiere the film. Macy White. What we can only do are private screenings. They're invite only. So for the next few months, we're working on groups that will do invite-only screenings and that can pay an elevated fee. So we're thinking judges and lawyers are a great place to start because they have money. When is the premiere in Atlanta? Happy to organize. It's from Mike Smith. We don't have a premiere date set in Atlanta. Contact me. Mike Smith, are you trained as an ambassador? Family counselors from Amy Yates. Mara and Walston, college students should see this, great for birth control, family planning. Yeah, I guess to discourage people from having kids because they'll be like, oh my God, this sounds so traumatic. Yeah, I mean, like, family planning centers, birth control centers, that could be a great place to show this film. I also heard churches. So the thing I've been hearing about churches is obviously they deal with this a lot, but sometimes they either can be active in the alienation or really don't want to get too into this topic. So it'd be interesting to see if we can get sponsorship from churches. And another thing too is also a more top-down approach, where if you can get, like, for example, I don't know, like the Methodist Congregations of America to endorse the film and to say to their congregations that they should show it, then it's easier to set up those screenings. So get judges and state representatives. It's easy. Mike, I love you. You're saying that's easy. Can you help us with this? Like, actually reach out to these people. And then Hartwell Thomas Rainey also did the Federal Judges Association. Todd Carlson brainstorming. Give a story to add to the announcement. Reach out to news outlets announcing a racing family film and give a personal story. Letter to the editor to give them a story, which the documentary plus a personal story. Brainstorming. Yes. So basically, that is the idea that when the film because here's the thing, if you go to a news outlet right now and say, please do a story about this, they're going to say, well, there's nothing newsworthy about this story, or we don't want to do a story about your personal custody case. But if you can say there's a screening coming to town, and in the press release we say there are 4 local erased families who want to tell their story, that becomes quite different. It's a very interesting thing for the news organization to show. Cool. So here's my question to you, because a lot of people are putting out, links and stuff. Who is willing to help us, and who is also in a place where they emotionally can do this, make all these contacts? Because now this is the point where I have to say, I got to get real with y'all. So I've been working on this film, and I haven't been taking any pay since 2015. And it's now 2019, and I want to continue doing this. I've also realized that what I'm really good at is creating messaging. It's creating content and resources for kids, and also teaching adults from what I've learned from the kids how to connect with their kids. And I'm not a counselor or psychologist. It's just passing on what they've told me to use so it can be used. And what I am very bad at, what I am awful at, is contacting people and organizing a list of contacts and getting on the phone and calling them each day. Because honestly, I'd rather be talking to y'all, making more videos, working on the film, talking to people who need help. That's what I'd rather be doing. So the idea through our ambassador program, also why I'm talking to y'all today, is to see if people can, if they can, and if you can't, you can't, step up and say, I will organize this information into a usable database that you can have, for example, or I can also reach out and contact these people. Which is why also it's very good to say, to start local, because if you say, here are all the lawyers and judges in the United States or Canada, it's like, whoa, overwhelming. But if you're like, I know one judge who people said gets this, and he's now retired, what if you talk to him? And then it becomes a little less overwhelming. Or I had this one good lawyer in my case a few years ago. Or there's this one social worker who got it. There's this one counselor in the school who knows my situation, wishes there were more they can do. What if I contact my alma mater to see if they'll screen it? And if they don't want to sponsor it, could I sponsor that screening and rent a room there for the kids to see it? Maybe get some pizzas so they'll show up? That's what we're looking for from our ambassador program, and for all of our fans. What can you proactively do? Because you know your area more. So if you're from Mobile, Alabama, you know where the venue is. You know what days of the week people will show up. You know what entices them. We don't know that. So that is where we're asking you to make those calls. And if you need help, there's the ambassador program to do it, to see who locally will screen it. So Lindsay Ann said share database. So one issue that we've been having is that we've been getting so much information, we don't have any volunteers who are really good with Excel. That's Excel, the Microsoft Office program. There's also one in Google Docs who can just really arrange this information. And if there's people who are able to volunteer, we're actively looking for that. And you can sign up on the Erasing Family page. Please don't just email me or PM me. Do the sign up form. Because we do ask for examples, and we ask for people who really can commit. So if you are going through trauma, or if this is a way to process your own grief, it's not time for you to become an ambassador or to volunteer. This is for people who have come to a safe place with their trauma, or who have resolved their issues. Hey, Ashlyn, good to see you. So we're just talking about who specifically we can do outreach to, and making it the more specific, the better. Because saying judges, it's not the same as saying I will talk to this judge, or I will talk to this local association of judges, or I will take some time to research who. Universities, which universities would be more interested in this? Do they have schools of social work or psychology that you could reach out to, right? Brian Farley, I'm great at Excel. Brian Farley, can you go to the Erasing Family page and fill out the volunteer form then, saying that you could help with admin and databasing. That'd be awesome. Are there any other questions before we end this live video? Because the marching orders are March 7th, I'm going to South by Southwest. We want famous, powerful people to support the film so they can get it into the hands of other famous, powerful people so we can really start a movement and shake this up, because people don't know this issue exists. Whenever I talk to people who aren't personally affected, I say that there's 22 million parents in the US alone who are having problems seeing their kids after divorce or separation. People go, what? That many? And they say, well, this happened to me or this happened to my cousin, but they don't know how big this issue is. And we need to make this a big issue. And we can only do this by if each person takes a little part and chips away at it. Mike Smith, what is your timeline to be ready for the private screenings? So we can start the private screenings probably in April and extend them through May and June. And during that time, we'll create a premiere date as well. Macy White, still confused. How can we help unconfuse you, Macy? You ask your question again. So Todd Carlson says, yes, everyone, please speak without a tone of conflict. Love is the answer. Diplomats and ambassadors are composed and compliment. Do not be angry. Do not be the angry person. Be a responsible member of the community. Positive, listen, understand. Reflect what you heard before responding. Can't agree more. That is great advice. And if you feel like you're not ready to be in that space, you can help by being a social media administrator. You can help doing administrative work like Excel, internet research, putting all this stuff into a database of conferences and stuff. That would be huge. So if you're like, I don't want to talk to people about this, I don't want people to know I'm going through this, or if someone says no, you cry afterwards, don't try to arrange screenings. But there's other stuff you can do to help. And it's really important that you're in a good place, because we've also had a lot of volunteers, and this is out of the goodness of their heart because they're hurting, offer to help with certain things and then not be able to complete their task. So also, if you are going to sign up to volunteer or be an ambassador, make sure it's something that you really can do. Because for me, if I spend, an hour teaching someone how to look for information, organize it, and then they never do it, that's an hour that I could have just been doing it. Or doing something else that's a better use of of the time for everybody. Because my vision for 2019 is to get a solid team behind this, so that way I can focus on creating more videos, creating more content, and creating information for the kids. Because right now I'm spending a lot of my time organizing Excels, because I've now had like 3 volunteers say they would do it, I train them, and then they don't. So it's really okay if you can't, but don't volunteer to do something that you can't do. So Macy White says, still confused. If you know only one person and can't get a large group of people to view it, how do we get that one person to view it? CD. So right now what we're focusing on is not getting one person to view it, because that will come later. When the movie will be available online to screen on Netflix or something, and this will be in 2020. So if we're just getting one person to see it, let's hold off on that. Right now we're trying to do community screenings where after the people see the movie and they're all emotional, they'll get information to take home about what to do in their situation. There'll be clear call to actions of what they can do in that moment. Maybe it's supporting a piece of legislation. Maybe it's signing a pledge. Well, I want a pledge that schools can take, saying that before every school event, they will send information home in email or letters, letting parents know that they are welcome at school events, even if there's a conflict with another parent, and they will do everything in their power to seat them separately and create a safe space. And this is a minor thing, but let me tell you, if I was 13 and when my parents said, well, who do you pick to go to your 8th grade graduation? If I could have just taken a piece of paper from my principal, who I remember I went to Catholic school, Sister Kathy, and said, hey, Sister Kathy said, I shouldn't have to choose which parent goes to my 8th grade graduation, because I did choose. I chose my mom. My dad didn't attend because they both said that they couldn't be in the same room with the other person, right? Maybe both of them would have attended, or at the very least, I wouldn't have made a choice, and I could have said something like, I don't know, maybe you should just contact the principal because I shouldn't really get involved in this, because, my principal said not to get involved. But I didn't know that. And I didn't have any tool because I was a 13-year-old kid. So I'm thinking like that's a very nice, easy way to start. It's very non-controversial. I mean, what school's going to say we don't want parents at school events, right? So that could be something to do in the moment. And in that community screenings also, because we were in Toronto last May, and I just showed the trailer, which is 3 minutes long. 25 people showed up. Some drove 4 hours just to watch the trailer. And then in that room, everyone looked around and goes, oh my God, we're all erased parents. Why don't we form a support group? So that's something that can come out of the community screenings. Or someone could say, I'm a kid and I really want to connect with my dad, but I'm scared. What can I do? Maybe someone can say look, I'm a parent who's been through this. Here's my number. Let's call and have a cup of coffee, and I'm there for you to listen. Or what if another kid, said something like, I don't talk to anyone in my family and I can't afford therapy, and someone's like, okay, here's some resources for you. And that's the sort of thing, what if there's a social worker or therapist right there who can help people, to process this? Or what if, someone's like, they see and they say, wow, I really want to show this film to my cousin who's a state over, but he runs the local bar association. And then he calls, and then all of a sudden the next state over, the local bar association is screening the film. So that's why community screenings are very powerful. There will be time for people to watch the film on Netflix or Hulu, Amazon, or all of them, or iTunes or YouTube or whatever. We're figuring that out next year. But people won't see a film in a community space that they can see online, right? So let's use this time while we're waiting for that to happen, and it does take time. A friend of mine, she just finished she finished a documentary a year ago. Netflix said they were interested in it, and from the time they said we want it to the time it's on Netflix, that was a year. So it takes time. Even when they say yes, it takes time. So let's use this time to our advantage and create community screenings where it's the start of a movement, because I always said this film and our materials are a tool for the advocates and the groups that are already out there. So what the solution looks like in your area could be very different. Maybe it's support groups in your area. Maybe in another area it's legislative reform. Maybe it's training for lawyers in another area. You guys know that better than we do, right? Because you know what your community needs. But if you're all together in a room talking together, that's where the change begins to happen, because you're face to face for the first time. Wow, 8 new comments. Well, let's see. So Mike Smith, if you contact colleges and universities, they may donate one of many screening rooms. Yes, that is true. So Mike Smith, are you able to contact a college in your area? Have you signed up to be so Robert Gillespie, what's a good gauge to know you're ready for beyond the trauma of it? Oh, that is a good question. I would say when you have no anger or ill will towards your ex, when you don't have to insult them, where you know that your child is being manipulated and you're not angry at them, and when you could say in public that this happened to you without emotion and without getting crying, and also that if someone talked about this, you could talk about it without saying that it happened to you. So, I've seen parents who have done incredible work. Whenever they talk about this, they burst into tears. That's not being over the trauma. If someone said, no, we don't want to show this film because we think parents should be erased and we think it's great, would you be able to respond by saying, that's an interesting opinion. Why do you say that? As opposed to feeling attacked and attacking back. If you have to look at information about this, are you able to are you able to look at it from an emotionally detached place? So, you know, I obviously, when I listen to stories about this, I do get emotional, but because I'm not a parent going through this right now, and this is why I think I can do this, and a parent can't do what I do, um, like it doesn't break me. You know, sometimes it can be annoying, sometimes it can be tough, especially when this parent comes to me, it's like I want to commit suicide or something. That's tough. But you know, I feel a distance towards it. Virginia Tech, Rick Tobin said, Mike Smith, these people lost custody: Brad Pitt and Britney Spears, John Barrymore, Harvey Keitel, David Hasselhoff, Chris Rock, Tyrese Gibson, Britney Spears as well. How's Hollywood not getting the message? So I have talked with, I'm not going to say who, 4 of those people. And basically, they don't want to put their name on something that's this controversial, or if they have in the past, their managers have said, you can't do this anymore. So also what we need are people who have like a personal connection to one of those people. I didn't know about Harvey Keitel. You know, this is really interesting. So then Todd Carlson said, you know, what are your unique skills to help? We all have gifts. Every bit can turn into a big impact. And like, yeah, so Todd, that's great. Like, you know, I'm not good at contacting lots of people and keeping track of it. You know, that's why I want to set up a team who can do this, or sorting through information. You know, some people are really good at graphic design, and that would be a huge help that we know. So Robert Gillespie, I'll be asking my therapy guy just the same. Perhaps asking is a sign. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, well, I mean, some people think that they're over their trauma and they're not. So, you know, it's good to ask and reflect. Um, you know, I think one thing, you know, what the kids say now, being triggered, you know, that you see something and it's hard for you. So if you saw a film of a kid saying, Mommy, I don't want to see you, I hate you, would you burst into tears and have to lie down for 5 hours? And you're probably still going through this trauma. And we're always processing stuff. You know, no one is perfect like this. But if it interferes with your ability to do this, then, you know, you should do something maybe behind the scenes. I always say, like, if you want to become an advocate and speak in public, you need to have processed this and not be emotional about it. Mike Smith, does the film address Title IV? It does. We do not say that it's called Title IV, and we keep it super, super simple and focus on how it impacts the kids and how it stands in the way of shared parenting reform. So Tyrese did get 50-50 with his daughter back. Yes, that is true. Any other questions? And also, you'll always be able to watch this video on our website and also on our Facebook page. So remember, we need places to sign up to screen the film, as many as possible, before March 7th. It's not a commitment, and if people are very interested in doing a private screening between April and June, let me know. We will be asking for a higher than average screening fee for those, and they have to be invite-only events, so they can't be advertised to the public. Kathy Wood, what is Title IV? Google it. It's basically, it's block grants to the states. So this is a U.S. law. It's block grants to the states to fund child support enforcement. And our problem with this is that they fund child support enforcement, but no programs to help families. And that's one of the main issues. And also, it works against enacting default shared parenting, because the more money you collect enforcing child support, the more money, you know, the more money you get in block grants. In a lot of states, you can only collect child support if there's unequal custody. So it creates an incentive to not have equal custody. And Rick Tobin, just this. So Mike Smith, if there is a place that is interested, they should email us directly about doing this elevated fee. because we will only be doing a few of these screenings before the premiere, which most likely will be in late May or June. So they should email me directly if they're interested in it. So that would be the answer. And basically, we want everybody who wants to see the film to see it, but we do need to fund our campaign. And so that's like if people, have means, because for a group of lawyers, a $1,000 screening fee is not a lot of money because they charge $500 an hour. So if there's an association of 100 lawyers, that's very reasonable. And in the film world, that's normal. But obviously, we could not charge that to a high school or support group or anything like that because they would not be able to pay anything near that, and they might not be able to pay anything at all. But that's what they get for having, to see it before the film comes out. Mariam Wilston, I honestly want to contribute in some capacity, but having my children kidnapped in Stockholm has left me very traumatized. So, Mar, what you can do is you can share our posts, you can comment on them. If you're on Twitter and Instagram, you can share, retweet, and if you have some ability to volunteer, just like be very, succinct about what you can and can't do, and that'd be great. You can sign up on our webpage for that. But if you can't, focus on yourself. That's the biggest gift you can give the movement, is to focus on your own healing. Oh, wow. And Mike Smith also did a 1-minute video about Title IV. So again, thank you so much. You can rewatch this video within a few minutes on Facebook. Next day, we'll have it on our webpage. And Valentine's Day is next week. And I just wanted to say thank you, everybody. I love you for all the support you've given, how you are using our talking points to reunite with your own kids, how you are using, love and hope to move your situation. And remember, if you change and show love and hope, it's no guarantee that you'll reunite with your kids, but unless you do, you won't. It's very hard to do so, because especially when your kids are older, it has to be a choice on their part, and kids are attracted to love and hope and optimism and support. They're not attracted to whoever was the bigger victim. And thank you for all that encouragement and hope. So remember, marching orders. By March 7th, we need to get as many signups as we can. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Have a great week. And this will be a wonderful year. We're going to reunite so many families. And we're also going to work to make sure this stops happening now. Bye.